It's Weather Wagers, and we are back for another exciting week of weather talk, football talk, and so much more. We say hello, everybody. I am Brett Thackeray.
And hello, everyone. I am Dan Tomaso on another busy week for this show, but we also have to look back at what was a fun opening week to both college football and our picks.
Absolutely, and we're going to do that, as we always say. New episodes of this podcast come out on Thursdays, and you can find us everywhere you can find your podcast, Daniel, especially the new ABC 27 News Plus app, which you can get on your TVs, Roku, Apple, Fire Stick.
It's all free.
You can find us at abc27.com. That's the big thing. No subscription required. And we're free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and, of course, the ABC 27 News YouTube channel. You go on there, you hit podcasts.
You like, subscribe, there we are.
And I will say, I am merely Brett Thackeray sitting here next to Dan Tomaso because Dan always has hot takes. And if you listen to the first season of this podcast, I love that Dan went off, and I actually went off last week with a hot take on the Phillies, which we're going to get into. But I do want to, as we start with our introductions here, we always do like to talk about something that's maybe been in the news or things that you and I each have thought about. The one thing you're going to start with is we have some hometown talent in the news and some Eagles in the news. And,
we do. And there's a crossover. And
some Penn Staters in the news. Why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, so first we'll start with the Saquon Barkley, which if you're listening to us on Thursday, it's opening night for NFL. And, of course, the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles. I will say that as much as I possibly can.
They're going to unveil the banner tonight,
They're going to unveil the banner, but the team is not going to watch it happen because they've moved on from last year.
Well, before we move on, let's just say hello to David Shiner, our audio engineer. He's got the Super Bowl shirt on. Why don't you show it there?
Got the Kelly Green hat.
We would, if we weren't on the air today, we
always
would
have to represent week one,
Yeah, Kelly Green is like chroma key green, so
yes,
it doesn't work for us weather guys.
We can't do it, unfortunately.
But hey, we're trying to represent here for the first Thursday night game against the Cowgirls, and we'll see how that works out.
I love that it's against the Cowboys. But
Cowboys week already.
Saquon Barkley has had a big year because he's got a documentary coming out in October, and you noticed something else this week.
Yeah, the NFL players voted him the number one overall top player out of the top 100. So this is a huge honor for Saquon Barkley.
That's awesome.
If you think about it, the journey we've been on, I mean, he helped turn around Penn State in the James Franklin era. That was how things started.
Won a Big Ten title,
put us on the map. And then he goes to the New York Giants, which everyone was fearful of in the beginning, that the team's not very good. He's going to be a star lost amongst the garbage, if you will. And for a few years, that was the case. But obviously last year, Howie Roseman shocked the world, paid the man to come in and say, you're the missing piece. And I was very dubious going back and looking at this and thinking about that signing. But it was golden. I mean, what an opportunity. And the highlight reel that was featured for the top 100 of Saquon, just himself. It's hard to believe all these highlights happened just last year. And now we're kicking off a new year. And again, as I mentioned in the last podcast related to Jason and Travis Kelce, it just feels like the Eagles are the center of the NFL world right now. And it's awesome.
I just heard somebody say Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, this modern-day version of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. If they could win a back-to-back, then I would say that. I think it's a little early to say that.
Yeah.
But
hard
listen,
to do it.
This team looks good. I think they're ready to defend the title. And to have Saquon being voted by his peers, I think that was the other thing,
it's
right?
Amazing. To have an Eagles player at this caliber is unbelievable.
There was another Penn Stater in the news this week. Micah Parsons and the Cowboys' relationship fell apart.
It did.
And the big news was that he is now in Green Bay. They kick off their season against the Lions. We're going to talk about that game coming up. Your thoughts on Micah going to Green Bay, what he can do with that franchise, and the fact that we don't have to face him tonight.
We don't have to face him tonight. It's a big deal, and it changes the shape of the NFC East immediately. I mean, it went from, okay, maybe the Cowboys can kind of hang around defensively, maybe not offensively, to now I think there's a pretty big divide between what talent-wise the Eagles have, what the Cowboys have. Now it puts the Packers likely squarely on our list of biggest potential naysayers, if you will, in the NFC for the overall NFC championship to get to the Super Bowl.
They've got a good quarterback. They've got a good coach. And now they have one of the best defenders and one of the highest paid players
One
ever.
of the highest paid players. Now, it does seem like there's some controversy around Micah's injury. I can't speak too much to it, but apparently, the severity of this back injury was not understood by the Packers leading into this trade. But the bottom line is they got the talent. I'm sure it'll work itself out over time. But you might not see vintage Micah Parsons at the beginning of the season.
Jerry Jones said he was happy with this. They got 5 or 6 picks from it, and he would rather have the numbers. He said he would rather have the numbers than the star. He was fine with letting him go. What are your thoughts on Jerry? And he was just on ABC on Good Morning America the other day. Rhiannon Alley talked to him, I believe, and that's what he said.
I don't understand it. I mean, they went from a homegrown talent that was theirs to now all of a sudden this fractured relationship. And other players take note of this sort of stuff. I mean, that's the thing that gets lost in all this, that the way an owner treats players, and he wanted to negotiate basically right with Micah and not with an agent, that could spell trouble for how they sign free agents in the future.
Well, he seemed perfectly content.
Well,
let's see how
he's going to spin it the way he wants to spin
Let's see how content he is tonight,
Right.
At 11 o'clock. I just wanted to bring up something I heard about in the news and get your comments on it. Mike Gundy, the Oklahoma State head coach, his team travels to Oregon this week to play the Ducks, and they are 28.5-point underdogs. And he made a comment that Oregon, he was very impressed with their roster, but he kept harping on the fact that they paid a pretty penny for that roster, and they have an expensive roster, and that Oklahoma State, basically, I think what he was doing in coach speak was saying, we're not going to be able to compete in this game because we don't have that type of budget. We're not paying for these players. Okay, they are in the Big 12. Does he make a point with this, or is he just sort of letting the fans know, don't expect this to be competitive? He also made a comment about Dante Moore saying, again, great quarterback and well compensated for it. Is Mike Gundy right or wrong here? And, should he be knocking Oregon for spending money in an era where if you want to win a championship, much like in baseball, you've got to spend the money to do it?
Well, and to your point, whether or not he should have said it, what does it do for the locker room? I mean, to go in basically saying you have no chance with this current roster against this vaunted $40 million roster, I think it doesn't bode well for team morale and keeping the team together, because there's going to be other teams too that outspend Oklahoma State, maybe not to this level, but is that going to be the excuse every time they lose now? I mean, I have yet to hear James Franklin come out and say after a loss, well, it's because Ohio State spent more money than we did.
No, but I think he has hinted at that.
He's hinted at it, but he's never come out and just said it.
No, but I think he has hinted at that. And wouldn't you argue that in this era, all of a sudden Penn State seems to be stepping up? We had a change in administration. The new AD, the new president are right with Franklin. We had naming rights put on the field, West Shore home field. We have spent money to keep our roster intact. Okay. And now we're the number 2 team in the country, at least for this week. So, and we're going to have to play that very expensive Oregon roster as well.
And the Ohio State roster.
This is a team that wants to compete at the highest level, and it certainly seems like they want to spend the money to do it. Now, if Mike Gundy doesn't, is that an issue with him being in the Big 12, do you think?
I think so. I mean, I think at some point, if you're their administration, don't you have to look at this saying, Coach, do you want to be here or not? I mean, he's got to be the highest paid person.
Well, he's been there
staff,
for 20
right?
years, but you look at other Big 12 teams, Kansas seems to be finding a way. Iowa State,
They're
Kansas
finding a
State,
way.
they lost, but they're finding a way to win games.
Arizona
State went to the playoff last year.
Right.
So, I mean, is it a Mike Gundy issue, or is it a Big 12 issue?
I think it's a weird world. I do
Yeah.
think we're in a very weird place right now, Brett, and we've talked about this a lot off camera, but it's just trying to figure out what each team has, what they're capable of. There's obviously going to there's going to be a lot of programs that get left behind in this process, because not everyone can supply this huge NIL base.
You hate to see it being Oklahoma State, because 10 years ago this may have been a game.
They were very relevant.
And
10 years ago.
We'll see what happens, but they are big underdogs, and I think Mike Gundy is saying, yeah, well, we're
Here's
big
why.
underdogs because we don't have the money to spend on that. But it's an interesting take, and we're going to talk more about it. All right, let's shift to our weekly Phillies chat. We're going to keep this a little shorter this week, but I think the Phillies heard my rant. They did everything that I asked them to do, right? I said we needed to split the Braves series. They won 3 of 4. And then I said I really want us to win at least one game in Milwaukee. So far, and we're recording this on Thursday, they've split. They have a chance to win the series tonight with Ranger Suarez on the mound, and we're going to talk about that. And then they go and they play the Marlins, which should be a winnable series back at home. We're going to talk about the weather for that series. But they do hang on to the division lead. The Mets faltered a bit. Now they've come back a bit again, and we're kind of hovering around a 6-game lead. So it's hard to knock the Phillies too much after I blew them up last week. But Dan, I want to know, as we sit here today, I believe it's still a 6-game lead. Is that correct?
5.5.
5.5. But the potential is there. You know, we don't know what's going to happen with the Mets. We don't know what's going to happen with us. But we have opportunities here. What do you love about this team and a potential playoff run. One thing that you love about this team in a playoff run.
What I will say is even when they've been down since the Mets series, they claw back. And it's not like they're getting totally dismantled when they lose. They're competitive.
Schwarber had a 4-home-run game, for example.
Right. So I think this is boding well for their run. And keep in mind, just going back to the All-Star break, I think we're the second best team behind the Brewers in all of baseball record-wise. We've been playing great baseball since the All-Star break, and the knock on them last year was they were playing 500 ball post All-Star break. So I think things are breaking right. The other thing I will quickly mention is that the moves that Dave Dombrowski made have really paid big dividends. Harrison Bader is our hottest hitter right now.
Yeah.
And obviously Duran is exciting.
He's exciting. There are things to really like. What's one thing you don't like about heading into the playoffs? Because there's also some things to be concerned about, I think.
Yeah, I think the lack of power right-handed pitching right now is concerning. Now, you could win a playoff series lining up 3 lefties in a row, but you would like to see Aaron Nola regain his command. His velocity's up, which is a good sign, but I feel like he goes through these waves in games currently where he doesn't know where the ball's going, that it's drifting over the plate or it's not in the location that JT's setting up.
Hit a guy yesterday, and that was concerning.
But it's always the strength that comes first when you're recovering from injury, and the command comes second. So the hope here is that the command comes.
Well, and it's nice, again, if you're listening to us on Thursday, that's when we're recording. It's a double Philly sports day.
Mm-hmm.
The Phillies play in Milwaukee at 4, and then the Eagles play tonight at 8. So that is going to be fun. But let's take a look at the schedule because it doesn't really get too much easier. We do have the Marlins at home this weekend. We're going to talk about the forecast for that in a minute. Then we've got the Mets coming to town. And I'm sorry, we're down in Miami.
Yep.
Okay. So the road trip continues, Milwaukee to Miami.
That's
then
correct.
we come home, and we have a 4-game series against the Mets. Just split that, right?
Split it, and there's no movement in the division. So that's the goal. And then the schedule gets really strange after that.
Is the Royals a winnable series after the Mets?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. They're more of a closer to 500 team. The Dodgers will be a
Tough.
Pretty vaunted test. And hopefully by that point it really doesn't matter that much.
But they've had their struggles too.
They've had their struggles too. But anytime you go all the way to California.
We're on the West Coast for a
Right.
bit, and that's not a great way to end the season, although we do come back home after that. So we go to Miami this weekend, and then we come home for the Mets and the Royals.
Notice all these games are in a row, by the way.
No, I do see that. So we'll talk more about it. To me, though, they should really be able to get these games in Miami, right?
I think so. I mean, dome field shouldn't be an issue of getting those in. The Mets
I just
series,
want to make sure they are on the road.
Yes, no, they are
Yeah.
on the road. That is
Okay.
correct. The games against the Mets, obviously, as we get more fronts coming through, we get rain chances. We'll be watching for that.
Okay, yeah. Let's take a two-shot here because I do want to. Let's go to a two-shot if we can. I just want to mention, too, that one of the great things about the Phillies this year that I have noticed, Dan, and you've pointed this out, their bats do seem to come alive
Right.
when they need them to. Not always. Last night was an example where they didn't get a lot of runs. But listen, I mean, on the whole, we're hitting and we're hitting well. And you know, what do you think about what we did signing the new reliever coming in here? That's the one other thing I want to talk about with the Phillies.
Tim Mesa is interesting.
Well, no, the other one.
Oh, and Walker Buehler's
Walker
too.
Buehler.
I was going to say Tim Mesa is probably on the playoff roster at this
Millersville,
point. Yes,
right?
yes, Millersville grad. I think he's exciting because he has experience, and while it may not be, big time stuff, he's pitched for the Yankees. He's pitched for other teams in his career. He's in his mid-30s. Nothing should shock him at this point. It's kind of like when they added David Robertson. Nothing's going to surprise him. Nothing's new to him. You can kind of plug these guys in as long as they have their command. They should be useful pieces.
It's going to be a fun October, we hope.
I certainly hope so. Again, I don't know if they'll win the whole thing. I never know because the
It's
playoffs
tough.
in baseball is random.
Can they at least win the division?
I think so.
With this schedule.
Yep. Take the flag.
So they're in Miami. We think it'll be fine. They have a covered up place down there to play. So that's all the Phillies talk for this week. Let's talk football. Let's talk week 1 because we've got to go back and give you our recap. First of all, how great was it to see Lee Corso and his final game day? He went 6 for 6 with his picks. He picked the upset correctly of Florida State over Alabama.
Yeah, I'm worried about who he's leaving behind on that set because the picks were not good this week.
No, but his were great.
Yep.
And you played a parlay on that. You're a rich person. He also picked Ohio State, of course, and they ended up beating Texas. So just a fond farewell for somebody that has been a great ambassador for the game and somebody I'm going to miss seeing every Saturday morning. It's kind of like that moment where how are we going to start our Saturdays now? You know what I mean?
It is going to be odd, and I kind of want to put a limit on how much Pat McAfee's allowed to talk because I felt like he talked a lot this week. But we're going to get more of that, and we're going to get more of Desmond, which, as a Penn State fan,
I can do without Desmond. I like Pat, but I like Nick. Nick balances both of them out.
Nick is the one I want to hear more from.
He is phenomenal. So let's take a look at how we did with our picks last week. Dan, you skunked me again, only by a game, though, so it is very close.
Very close.
We both got that Florida State pick right. We sniffed that out, didn't we? No, we didn't pick them to win, but boy, Alabama could be in trouble here.
Alabama could be in trouble. I didn't think it was going to be that bad, but I thought they might be at a talent deficit due to injury. I don't know what they have on defense.
Well,
I did not expect that.
We're going to talk about Alabama coming up because we're going to play a fun game. Texas A&M also had trouble covering the 24.
It was a big spread.
We lost that. You got me with the LSU pick, and we both agreed that it was a bigger game for Brian Kelly. He came through. I don't know if you saw the back and forth with their press conferences this week.
No, I did not.
Dabo was asked about the game, and he went on a bit of a tangent. And he said, look, it's opening game. They have a great team. They kicked our butts, but they got about a 65 and we got about a 58. And so, there's both teams have stuff to clean up on, but they got us a bit. But I thought both teams were sloppy. Brian Kelly was then asked about that, and he said, well, I'm not sure he saw the second half because we pretty much dominated them in the second half.
The second half was not that close
of a game. He said, I think we passed with flying colors. Maybe he didn't see the second half. Maybe he didn't want to see the second half. And Brian Kelly seems very confident in a way that we haven't seen.
I think they have a very good team.
Yes.
And I think they have a very good quarterback, which in the SEC is king.
If you trust Corso's picks, he's picking them for the national title.
I saw that. I've seen some people say Penn State LSU in the national championship.
He said that. And so let's see what happens. That could be very fun. We both picked the South Carolina game correctly. You lost the Notre Dame game. That's where I got one back on you. I picked Miami to win.
Yeah.
That was a close game, too. But Jeremiah Love absent a little bit in that game.
The running game was absent with an old friend, Jawan Sider. What's going on there?
Well, they've got time to clean it up. We're going to talk more about Notre Dame coming up. Let's get to the TCU game. We both sniffed this one out. We thought it would be a disaster in Chapel Hill. It's starting out as a disaster.
A disaster doesn't even define it.
I want to give a shout-out to the TCU Twitter feed, the football team. Let's pull that up because Carolina football tweeted, excited to showcase our program this fall on Hulu. They've got a big Hulu series, right? Everything's Belichick.
Yep.
ESPN had a love fest for Belichick. And TCU football retweeted Carolina football and said,
good trolling.
When does episode 1 come out? It's on the screen there. That's funny, right?
It is funny. Now, I will say that was a tough first game. And if you are a Tar Heel fan of any way, shape, or form and you want some hope, the hope is the ACC. The ACC is not that good, in my opinion. I think they will collect some wins. Will they make it bowl eligible? That might be a little bit tougher, but this is not the vaunted Big Ten or the SEC that North Carolina plays in.
No, but the way that they played,
that's bad. It was bad.
I'm not sure what the talent level is really like. All right, more picks to review, and as we headed into the under the radar game, and then our best bets, we both got Auburn right. Hugh Freeze off the hot
Big
seat
one
for now.
Him.
Wake Forest didn't show up for me. They only won by 1 point over Kennesaw State. That was embarrassing. I did get the under right. I'm happy to report.
But you were concerned. You said watch Kennesaw State. You said that.
Well, I really wasn't that concerned though. That one did surprise me, but I knew. I had a gut feeling that Texas and Ohio State would be on the under. That one
got pretty brutal.
Couldn't have played that one any better. And then I missed the Georgia Southern pick too. I really thought that they would whoop Fresno State. Fresno State came back from their beat down. Kansas beat them down.
Yep.
And they answered the bell. As for you, Dan, you got 2 out of your 3 picks, right? Tennessee would look great.
Yeah, Tennessee, Joey Aguilar. I mean, it seems like they're going to be okay. I don't know how good they're going to be in the SEC, but they have a pretty easy SEC schedule. Something to watch coming down the line here. Indiana did not cover, which is extremely interesting to me because I thought this would be a statement game for Kirk Cignetti. I really did.
And we are thinking that may be one of Penn State's tougher games. We'll see if that holds to be true. But that was surprising. And then Virginia won for you.
Virginia won, Tony Elliott. Yep. Mm-hmm. So maybe they're building something.
That would be good for them. We certainly hope so. All right. I want to, show you the overall record. Now, we still have to come up with a bet for the season anyway.
Yep, the beard's off limits. I've stated it.
Is that right?
Yep, we'll come up with something else.
All right. Man, he's afraid. I know he is 7, but he shouldn't be. Here's the record. And we got to make this soon because
yep, we're going to come up with it.
We pretty soon one of us is going to be off to the races here. You are 9-3 so far this season. I'm 7-5. We're both above 500.
I'm the Phillies, you're the Mets.
That's right. I'm chasing you. But I do love to see that. And, they say most professional gamblers, about 65%. Well, I want to float above 500. That's my rule.
Now, this week, we get involved with the NFL, and that's what usually drags my numbers down.
Same here. So you're 2 games in the lead. Let's see how we make out coming up. All right, I've got a fun game to play.
Let's play it.
I'm going to ask you yes or no questions about the college football season so far because we oftentimes overreact to week 1, but we want to see what your overreactions are. Mm-hmm. Here's question 1, and we're going to call this game yes or no with Dan Tommaso, and we are
starting. Notice the rhyme there, everybody.
Yeah, I do like it. Dan, will Alabama make the college football playoff after that performance against Florida State?
No.
Why?
So I am very concerned that this Kalen DeBoer fit is a bad one because last year there were cracks. There were games where they were up, and then there were games that they were down. They looked like they were totally outclassed against Florida State, and we don't really know what Florida State is. So Alabama, this vaunted program, this program that should be this perennial, 4-star kid, just come on in, come on play. I didn't see any of that.
They loafed. I mean, there were plays where they were loafing.
And I would assume, based on what we know about Florida State and based on what we know about the SEC, Florida State's not going to be as good as the SEC teams.
Very interesting. All right, question number 2 for you. Will Clemson, who did get beat by LSU, win the ACC?
And my answer is yes to this. And the reason I say this...
you were down on Clemson.
Oh, I'm still down on Clemson. I'm not impressed by their offense. I think with someone of Cade Klubnik's experience, that was just not an acceptable performance. But I think, unfortunately, for the ACC, I mentioned how weak I think the conference is overall. Other than Miami, Clemson almost wins this thing by default, in my opinion.
Well, what about Florida State?
Well, that could be true, but I don't think they fixed all their issues in one off season.
All right, we watched the Ohio State-Texas game. I was right about the under, but has Ohio State really lost a beat since last season?
Answer is no. And I'm very, very concerned we are lining up for a very similar year to last year. Maybe they lose against Michigan, but this team is going nowhere, and we have to play. Penn State has to play them in the shoe. My hopes are dwindling.
Well, we saw how Texas fared.
Correct.
In the shoe, and it wasn't great.
Correct.
How about Utah? They came out swinging against UCLA. They looked tough. They looked physical. It looks like a Kyle Whittingham team. Are they going to win the Big 12?
I say no. I think teams like Kansas have bigger potential, bigger ceiling. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another dark horse candidate, whether it's Kansas State, whether it's Iowa State, and we can't forget Arizona State. So I think it's pretty crowded for them to win the Big 12.
Well, we're going to see. I do like that answer, Daniel, and I believe we've got one more question. I said we'd get back to Notre Dame.
I hope my dad's listening for this one.
Will Notre Dame lose another game?
The answer, I think, is yes, and here's why. Their offense still seems lacking to me, and they have Texas A&M on their schedule coming right up, and I think it's going to be a tough game for them to win.
Well, Texas A&M did not cover that big spread last week, and they have to go to Notre Dame
They do have to go to Notre Dame, but if that's their running game this year, it's not looking good because their offensive line did not look as strong.
I agree, and again, you could say the same about Penn State.
Yes, and I have my concerns there too.
All right, well, speaking of that, we're going to get to the Penn State forecast in just a bit. I do want to shift as we talk about this week. The NFL is back. Mm-hmm. It's back tonight. As you said, what are you excited about that pro football returns, and in a big way with the Eagles-Cowboys tonight?
Eagles-Cowboys, obviously, very exciting way to kick things off. The shape of the NFC changed a little bit with this Micah Parsons trade, but I'm just excited to see the Eagles just continue to roll on. I don't want to see a down year this year.
But you're talking about the NFL. Those games are tough to pick. So as we
100%.
Get into this week, remember, we're going to talk about some weather games.
A lot of parity in the NFL.
Talk about the Penn State forecast for Saturday. First, we do have some concerns that it does look wet. Here's 4 a.m. It's going to be warm and a little muggy Saturday. I think there could be some showers early.
Slow dragging front.
Lingering into the game time. Look at this. Between noon and 4, it does look wet and maybe a rumble of thunder. That would be the worst.
The lightning is the worst case scenario here. That obviously that would delay play and stop play immediately as soon as it's in the vicinity. So that is a very big concern, I feel like. Now, again, the opponent this time is in our favor. So if there is going to be a weather delay game, perhaps this is a good one. But for tailgating, for fans wanting to spend time outdoors outside of West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium, I wanted to make sure I got that right.
You got it. I am worried, though. I know part of the game plan here is they're probably going to load the box and make us win with our receivers, and we want to get them involved
and keep
early.
Everything in front. But they want to keep everything in front.
With this weather forecast, it could be tough to do.
I know.
Let's talk about the wind, too, because that's always a factor, especially when a front comes through. This doesn't show much. But ahead of a front, I could see 10-mile-an-hour winds on Saturday with Penn State.
I could see that too. Keep in mind, we didn't punt last week, so special teams, it was field goals or you score a touchdown. If we keep that going, we'll be fine.
There is a front moving through today, but there's going to be another one on Saturday. So at noon, we do expect there to be a few showers. Now, I think after the game, it looks like a nice evening in State College, but if you're headed up for the game, give yourself some extra time because Saturday morning looks wet. Not only could there be some showers that could impact play, but again, maybe a rumble of thunder. We always say that we don't want to hear lightning in the distance.
No, lightning in the distance usually means stoppage of play and a long delay. Again, let's hope for the best here.
All right. Well, we do have some weather games to pick this week. It's time for Games of the Week.
Games of the Week.
And for this, we're going to start on Saturday. Now, when we made the forecast look ahead earlier this week, we thought that there was going to be maybe a cold front coming through, and we picked some of these games that are now actually, in my opinion, looking a bit better weather-wise. But Dan, the wind could be a factor as this front moves through for some of these games, and here they are on Saturday.
Well, and they're not the summer-type weather games you think about early in the season. I think that's the other factor. It's cooler.
It's cooler, and it's going to be breezy in these spots. And the first spot we're going to is Lexington. Lane Kiffin visits. This could be a revenge game. Remember, they lost an ugly one to Kentucky last year.
Kind of derailed the Ole Miss season.
It did because they lost some games they shouldn't have, and Kentucky was one of them. Ole Miss going to Lexington, could be some wind there. How about East Lansing? Looks breezy, huh?
Yeah, and I would think about the under here. Two teams that might struggle to score, and if weather is at all a factor, cooler, windy weather might be interesting.
Blacksburg's got a front coming through Saturday. Remember, we said there's going to be weather in Happy Valley. There could be weather at Virginia Tech, and Vandy comes to town. That's an interesting, fun game.
Well, maybe it'll cool down Brent Pry's hot seat.
Well, I think he's going to need to win here.
I think it's a must-win. It is a must-win.
It could be tough. So here's the forecast. Saturday, you can see that front kind of coming through. Now, remember, the Lexington game is at 3:30. That all of a sudden looks like it could be okay.
Looks better.
And then as we head into the evening hours for Blacksburg, again, that front now looks to push through a little bit faster. Some showers in East Lansing, though, during the time frame of that game. And I do want to point out the winds here because they could kick around. I think you want a wind game, East Lansing, 3:30.
Mm-hmm. Right off the lakes.
Yeah. Michigan State's only
kind of feels like October.
Yeah. They're only favored by 4.5. If that comes down to a field goal, look out. And then Blacksburg Saturday night, again, just enough of a breeze to maybe have an impact there. But all of these games that maybe looked a little wet earlier in the week, now trending drier. So I will say that is good news. Let's go to our Thursday and Sunday games. We had to pick the Eagles game because there could be some weather there tonight, Dan, and the Eagles are 8-point favorites.
Yeah, 8-point favorites, but I think no matter what the weather is, this team is equipped, whether it's run or pass, to take advantage of now a weaker Dallas Cowboys defense.
Some weather could be going on for the Packers game. Micah Parsons' debut, maybe. What do we think?
I think it's questionable if he plays. That's a big factor here.
After this big trade.
But what a game to kick off the season. I mean, this could be for the North right here, right now.
It's a big one on CBS on Sunday, and then the Ravens-Bills, NBC gets a good
another
one.
big one for the AFC.
That spread is tight, but there could be some showers and some wind there. Watch. Now, tonight, remember, we're recording this on Thursday, but I'm telling you, the game tonight could get interesting. I think there's some rain early on, maybe first, second quarter, first half.
And lightning issue again. Lightning could be a problem.
There could be some lightning, and we're going to see what happens. But it could get sloppy early, and that does concern me. Let's take you out here because the next two games are Sunday afternoon and Sunday
This really
evening.
does look like an October pattern the more I watch it.
Well, the front on Saturday that we said for those college games. Now, look at this. That Green Bay game all of a sudden could feature some showers at the start of it.
50s, low 60s.
And some wind. And then Buffalo Sunday night. Maybe
right off the lake.
a couple of showers. But the winds are a factor here. I think it'll be breezy tonight in Philly, don't you? As this
I
front
do
comes
too.
10 to 15 mile an hour winds, southerly out ahead of the front, and then a little bit breezy.
Then
now,
the transition happens.
yeah,
Yep.
then we get this transition because a cool air mass is coming in Saturday night into Sunday. Look at Sunday. Green Bay could get a little breezy.
Ooh.
Remember, their kick is at around 4:30. Look at Buffalo. That game could be breezy Sunday night. So we're actually
I can't handle this already. This is early for this talk.
we're actually talking about some breezier games than maybe some wet games. Although I do think the Philly game tonight could be wet, but winds have a big impact, don't they?
Well, and unseasonably cool weather, too. I mean, there is an acclimation part for every player, whether it's cool or hot weather, and adapting your play to it.
100%. So let's give our picks. We're going to go back to the Saturday games. Again, some weather coming in here. Both you and I like Ole Miss minus the 10. I think they're just
vengeance. Yep.
I think they're better.
I think so, too.
And I think they're going to try to avenge their loss last year. Michigan State, Boston College comes to 10. We didn't even really mention their opponent.
The Fighting Bill O'Briens.
Should we mention their opponent? Do we have to be worried there? We're both going Michigan State 4.5.
I think, again, Boston College, for whatever reason, football in the Northeast just has not held any strength as of the last 10 years.
Would we reconsider maybe, as you said, taking the under for this game?
That would be a consideration to take the under on this.
Yeah, but right now we're locked in. Michigan State minus 4.5 at home against Bill O'Brien. Now, here's our first difference. Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech. They come out to enter Sandman there. Brent Pry back on his home turf. You're picking Brent Pry to win this game?
If it's not now, when? I mean, for him, this is a program-defining win. Unfortunately, that's how low they've fallen. They need this one, and so I think there's a lot of pressure.
But I think Vanderbilt's good. Diego Pavia coming back. He's threatening to beat Alabama again. This one's more of a money line pick, but we are going against the spread here. You're going Virginia Tech +1. I'm going to take Vandy -1. And then the NFL picks this week. We're not going to pick against our Eagles, are we?
Watch our Eagles fly.
Yeah. Shiner, you going to go with our -8 there? You like that?
Yeah, I think this one could get out of hand. At least I'm hoping. I'm looking at like maybe 28-7-ish. So yeah, definitely going to cover the 8. I think.
I don't know how you guys feel about this. I think Cowboys fans are going to be begging for Mike McCarthy to come back. This coaching hire.
How ironic would that be?
Schottenheimer. I don't know what this is.
The coaching hire is suspect. The Jerry trading Mike is suspect. A lot lot of weird things going on in that organization.
Yep, for sure.
Let's just cover the 8 and celebrate the Super Bowl from last year. And
Love it.
Packers. Okay, we're different here. How about this one? I'm going to go with the Packers to cover the 2.5. You say not so fast, my friend.
Well, I say not so fast because someone like Dan Campbell can use a Micah Parsons trade as fodder. And for whatever reason, he has an ability to fire up his team. Now, I am very curious what the offense looks like minus Ben Johnson because the Lions love the trickery, love the, oddball plays, if you will, to get down the field in chunks. But I wouldn't be shocked if they come into town and they shock the world.
Well, that is going to be a fun one. And then Sunday night, here's another. No. We're both going Bills.
We're both going Bills.
I think there's no way they lose at home, especially in that type of weather. Breezy, maybe a couple of lake effect showers. I like Josh Allen.
New kicker for the Ravens, too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, Justin Tucker's gone. And again, though, two teams that are going to be right there in the AFC, right?
This is a playoff preview weekend in many ways, minus the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys are making the playoffs unless something really goes wrong in the NFC.
You say that with an air of smugness to you.
Well, I don't know what, like you said, I don't know what's going on there. And when was the last time Dak Prescott's finished the season?
It's been a while. So those are the games of the week picks. And now it's time to, go under the radar.
Under the radar.
And as we say, this is a game that not a lot of people are talking about or focused on. It actually happens to be on our parent company's network, the CW. And it's at noontime, and it's Baylor SMU. And, Dan, this is an interesting game. Dave Aranda loses a game to Hugh Freeze, and Hugh Freeze did what he needed to do. He didn't just beat him by a couple of points. He went in
did
there
pretty well.
And the offense looked good, and now they play SMU, and this is SMU's sort of welcome to the season game. A playoff team last year. We know them all too well.
And I didn't mention them as a contender, but they certainly could be.
Kevin Jennings is back. The quarterback didn't have a good outing against Penn State in the playoffs, but he was good the rest of the year. They're favored by 3 points at home. Dave Aranda better win this game, but I don't think he's gonna.
I don't think he's going to either. I am very concerned about his immediate future. Now, they had a good season last year, so maybe he's bought himself a little bit of time. But this would be one, if he could get it, it might start something a little special there in Baylor.
Sounds like we both like SMU, though, with Rhett Lashley. All right, let's go to Brett's Best.
Time now for Brett's Best.
So, again, we each picked 3 games, too, that we think we would, make a wager on and hopefully do well. I didn't fare as well last week. I did hit that under,
Again,
though.
it's early. It is early. It is hard.
It is very hard because we're trying to figure out these teams, but I am going with 3 college games. I just, the pros are very tough, as you said, and I'm going to go with the Cy-Hawk Trophy.
This is a fun one.
That's the big noon game on Fox. You've got Iowa State, Iowa. I was so impressed with Rocco Becht and Matt Campbell.
As you should be.
You told me about them. I think they're physical. I think Iowa's got a lot to prove. And by the way,
Pay
Iowa
attention
State,
to this game.
Jack Trice Stadium, noon on Fox. I like them there. Now,
every Penn State fan should be watching this game. I'm telling you, because Iowa is looming on that schedule.
You're right, and I'm curious what they have. And again, we don't know a lot right now.
No, we don't.
They have a new quarterback. They've got a new offense. Can they wake up and win a tough game on the road? If they can, look out.
Look out.
FIU, Penn State. Now, the reason I'm picking this game, I don't think it's going to be interesting. And now I am concerned with the weather that maybe the under is the right play here. It's 54.5. Most of the points probably scored by Penn State.
Correct.
But I am going to take them to cover the 41.5. And here's why. James Franklin, especially in these games, James Franklin likes to cover. It's just something I've always believed. He knows that number. Didn't do it last week. I think him and the team want to come out, get the run game going, keep
That's
the
the
receivers in it. Jim Knowles, probably, that garbage touchdown, probably not happy with that. I think this is the week they come out and maybe win
Make a statement.
52-7.
Well, and you just have to think that all these offensive coaches are in these guys' faces this week. Finish drives, run block, do the things we're good at doing.
It would be nice if not only we don't punt this week, but if we don't need to kick a field goal.
That would be great, too.
So,
and in these conditions, you might not want to.
It's a big number. I may be a fool. I just think they're going to do it. And then Tulane is my pick from the group of 5 to make the playoff. They take on South Alabama on the road, but I like the Green Wave, and I like them as the favorite here. There's something special down there.
On the ESPN Plus.
On the ESPN Plus this weekend. I'll be watching because I'm a degenerate. And I don't mind watching a little Tulane, South Alabama to get that number.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the Doppler Dandies.
It's Doppler Dandies.
This week doesn't have a lot of the huge matchups that the first 2 weeks did, but keep an eye on this one. Illinois and Duke. Illinois is trying their best to resurrect their program. Duke, pretty much in the same scenario, but not as much success lately, minus Mike Elko. But it's on the road. Illinois is favored by 3. Just should be an interesting contest.
And what have I said? What is my slogan?
Worry about those road favorites.
Worry about the slight road favorites. I know what you're picking. I would pick the opposite here. I like the Dukies. I really do. And I also like what Brett Bielema is building. I'm just saying, be careful here. Now, a fun one in the Big 12 SEC.
Yeah, Big 12 SEC, which, again, at one point, Missouri was in the Big 12. Now they're not, obviously.
Yeah, these two teams are rivals, by the way.
They are
but
rivals.
You just wouldn't know it because they hardly play. Now they are.
I think this is fun. I think Eli Drinkwitz is trying to make a statement. I think he's trying to become a contender in the SEC. Got to win this game, but Kansas can put up points. That's why I think it could be a very back and forth type of game. Plus, old friend Bo Previlla, this is a big showcase for him too.
Can I just say that, we all have these teams that we maybe bet on or we watch and we kind of fall in love with. I think you have a crush on Kansas this year. I can sense
Well, it's just I love their
crush.
coach.
You have a crush on
if
Kansas.
James Franklin walked out the door tomorrow, that'd be the first phone call I make.
Lance Leipold.
Lance Leipold, bring him in. He is a ball coach.
Dan and Kansas, a match made in heaven. And that one's on the deuce, by the way. A little 3:30 action there. And then how about your nightcap?
Arizona State, Mississippi State.
Fun game. Fun game.
And I think we all need to see what Arizona State is and what they could provide as a potential 12-team playoff member.
Well, and credit to Mississippi State. They had a new coach last year. They did not have a great season. They came in against Southern Miss. I think that's where our old friend Charles Huff is now.
He moved from Marshall to
and he took
Southern
most of
Miss.
Marshall's team with him. And I got to say, I had a little something on Southern Miss to keep it close, and I lost.
Yeah, they didn't.
And so Mississippi State, all of a sudden, they're at home. We'll see. This could be fun if they're better than we think.
Road favorite. There we go again.
Road favorite, but more than a slight road favorite. So I would say maybe the Cowbells get to them. We will see. So, all right, it is time for our final picks.
Final picks.
Dan, it's going to be a fun week. I mean, now we're into the thick of the college football season. Even though there are not big games this week, there's a few that are interesting. And then, of course, as you say, the NFL starts. So give everybody your rundown here as we take a look at these picks this week.
Yeah, we don't differ too much on the first two. We take Ole Miss to cover and go into Kentucky, take care of business. Michigan State taking care of business too at home. But you like the Vandies. I like the Fighting Brent Prize. We might not be talking about Brent Pry much longer if this doesn't go well.
I do think it's going to be that is an interesting, fun week 2 game.
It's
there. Neither one's a big program right now, but we've seen Vanderbilt improve, and Virginia Tech did not lay down last week against South Carolina, so they're at home.
They tried to keep it close. The firepower is the question.
I think it could be really fun, really fun,
really fun.
Yep.
Okay, and then we both go Birds. Go Birds.
Yeah, and just keep an eye.
Birds.
Again, keep an eye on the weather tonight for that game. Again, we're recording this Thursday. If you're listening later in the weekend, you'll know whether or not there was weather. But I do suspect there could be some issues tonight at Lincoln Financial Field.
I think so. And it just might not be the most ideal opening night. And whether it was the SEPTA issue, now FanDuel helped them out. That's no longer a problem, but weather could be an issue. Tailgaters won't care, but
yeah. No,
just something to pay attention to for game conditions.
The Packers and the Lions, this is fun because we differ here. I think
picked
the Packers,
Jordan Love.
I did. I think they're going to put up more than enough points to cover that 2.5, and you like the Lions.
I like the Lions just because, again, I think there's a lot of talk, a lot of hype right now around the Packers, and I think a team like the Lions could come in. They have just enough talent that they could kind of mess up the parade, if you will.
We're both going with the Bills on Sunday night to beat the Ravens at home. The Bills are at home, and we think that'll be enough to get them over the hump. And then we both like for under the radar game SMU to cover the 3. I do. I mean, I think that they're going to be a really good team this year. Again, competing for the ACC, even though
they have a dynamic quarterback.
Yep, as you told us earlier, maybe it comes down to those two teams again. Clemson and SMU could be a repeat of last year. And then my picks, I'm taking Iowa State money line. I'm not going to be foolish enough to pick them to cover. Iowa's sneaky, and that rivalry series always comes down to the last minute.
Yep.
I am going to take Penn State in the number. That may be foolish, but I am 41.5. The weather concerns me in Happy Valley on Saturday. I'm just saying. And then my Green Wave, 10.5. I'm going to lay those points all day. How about your 3? Here you go. You're picking the Bielema.
I picked the Bielemas. There's something about that team. They play well. Luke Altmaier's still on the team, by the way. That's
they
other
had a
fun
good
part.
showing last week.
Yes.
Yep.
Kansas, I actually picked to cover. 6.5 seems doable for them. I think it could come down to a field goal game there.
And this will tell us how good Missouri is, too,
this year. It really will.
Mm-hmm.
It really will. And if our friend Bo can hold that starting spot. And then finally, Arizona State, this could be, yet again, another statement win for them as they try to get back to the playoff race here 2 years in a row.
It is going to be a fun week for us. You can always find us, too. We're going to post clips throughout the weekend. Here's our Facebook pages, and I'm meteorologist Brett Thacker. He is meteorologist Dan Tomaso. He's at Doppler Dan on X and Instagram. I'm Brett Thack, ABC27 on X and Instagram. And Dan, tell everybody our email.
Yeah, weatherwagers@gmail.com. We are actively checking that. We want to hear from you. If you have any ideas about the final bet, we'd certainly love to hear it.
Give it to us because we want to. And just a reminder, new episodes each and every Thursday. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on the ABC27 News Plus app and YouTube. You can watch us because, we've got cameras in here and we do love to visit and chat with you each and every week. But it's going to be interesting to me. Who's going to be on top this week with our records? Because we have enough differences that I think it could get really interesting.
I think it's going to get really interesting really quick. One game we didn't mention, which has some interest for Penn State fans, Michigan, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Any quick thoughts there?
I think Oklahoma is good enough to get it done, and I think they're 5.5-point favorites. I think they cover.
Very interesting.
I think that this is a statement year for Brent Venables.
Yep, make it or break a year.
Michigan, we don't know much about them. They've got a new quarterback they're breaking in. They had no trouble the other night, but it was New Mexico at home. Now they have to go to a tough place to play. Alabama found out Norman can be tough. I do like Oklahoma in that game, and I like them to cover. But, weather shouldn't be an issue there.
Yeah.
As we said, we try to pick games for our games of the week that have weather going on. I'm not sure there's going to be much weather.
That might be the marquee game of the weekend.
But that is Saturday night. Other than tonight, when the Eagles take on the Cowboys, we hope everybody enjoys it. And there could be some way. I do think, we talk about the Phillies, we talk about the Eagles, we talk about Penn State. 2 of the 3 could have weather issues this week. The Eagles tonight and Penn State on Saturday.
Yeah, and for now, the Phillies are at least in dome stadiums between Milwaukee and going down to Miami. Let's hope for good things here leading into the Mets series. You might be a different Brett Thacker by this time next week as we talk about
if what you say
lead
is,
into the Mets.
I was going to say, well, if what you say is true, we should be wrapping up that Mets series next week with hopefully a bigger lead in the division.
I hope it's a bigger lead in the division. Keep in mind, they still have to play 3 games ahead of that, and they really have starting pitching problems. So very curious to see how this all plays out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Dan, thanks so much. Dave Shiner,
Thank you.
Go Birds.
There it is.
I was waiting for it.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We will talk next week. Weather Wagers is out.